Jeez Louise. Okay, so happy Tuesday, happy September 12th, happy life. Okay, I have to do this every time. Are we live, excited, full of energy? Yeah. Okay, awesome. Right, and all your clients always want to, you don't have to be like Louise all the time, but they want you to have energy, right? And you want to show up with energy, and so they'll be like, because good energy is infectious, right? Right, Rich? Okay, so who wants to, Rachel? You want to share the quote of the day?
All your dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them.
So what does that mean to you? That's pretty funny here, but
just to think big and just to work on your daily routine and just being consistent.
Make it happen.
Yeah,
make things come to fruition.
Yeah, for sure. And the key word really is courage, right? Courage. Are there times when, do you think Michael and Steve always have courage? They just don't give a shit, right? They're just like, zero. So what's awesome is we're going to have a great story with Steve and Michael here soon. They're just like, we are? Yep, you are. So anyway, but have the courage, right? Fail forward. We talk about this all the time. Sonia, what does that mean? Do you want to share anything?
I mean, I always think about the naysayers, you know, with this kind of quotes, and like, what if you could be the person that you were when you were like 10 years old and want all the things you wanted, and you hadn't listened to any of the naysayers, like, where could you be now, right? So I think that's an important thing. And you can start anytime to make your dreams come true.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody. Okay, where's Anne? I think she's
on Zoom.
On Zoom. So congrats on your first closing, Miss Anne. Get it?
That's closing. Ended that.
Thank you.
Double ended. Yes. Miss Anne, you want to share that first, your first closing experience?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. This is the sellers I had met at an open house with my old brokerage. They left my open house and went and bought another house with another agent. When I followed up after the open house, they said, we have to tell you we just bought a house. I was devastated. But I said to them, you know, they told me they were going to flip it. And I said, I would love to be your listing agent to help you list it. So I stayed in touch with them for about a year. And his contractor was partnering with him. And when their permits got approved 9 months later, the contractor bailed. So he used he called me desperate, and he used my vendor, my construction guy, and redid the house. And then I listed it and held amazing open houses and found a buyer, and we closed 2 weeks ago.
Wow. That's awesome. And so what do you think is the big takeaway from that story?
She had the courage.
Follow up.
Follow up. And because when he told me he literally left my open house and went and bought another house, I didn't let that stop me. You know, I said, I want to work with you. I have vendors, and I would love to help you sell it. Apparently he wasn't loyal to that other agent. So it worked out. And now I think he's going to keep flipping. So I'm looking for more houses for him.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations, Anne. That's
Thanks.
awesome.
It was really fun. And Louisa was a great help. You know, I didn't realize how much I didn't know. So she was a great help.
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, congratulations to both of you, and for your tenacity in following up. So I hope you all take that attached to what she did, right? Because I can't remember what the exact statistic is, and someone in here or on Zoom probably remembers. But there's a huge number, right, percentage number of agents that don't follow up. And that the buyer or seller would use again, but because they're not following up, they don't. So she followed up, didn't have the deal, but kept with it, so on and so forth, and she got it. So follow-up is such a huge component of your business. All right, awesome. Congratulations again, Anne. Okay, Mr. Rich Pisani, President Pisani.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. So a couple of things I wanted to talk about. When agents get potential violations from the MLS, I'm copied on them, and I see a lot that agents don't seem to know the practice of relisting a property at a lower price or whatever, so it pops up, whatever that practice is. I'm not a fan of it, but if that's the way you guys want to do business, that's great. You can do it, but you need to do it correctly. And more, even the MLS, which for some it's a more lenient MLS, they're cracking down on this practice because agents aren't doing it correctly. What they'll do is they'll relist the property, do nothing with the old property that's still hanging there. They may withdraw it, but let's remember, withdrawal means there is a valid listing agreement in place. So you need to cancel the old and get a new listing for that property. Yes, you have to do the paperwork again, and you need to send me the cancellation. I need to sign the cancellation, because what I see happening is the MLSs are saying you need to cancel the old and show me the new, and they're asking for this paperwork, which they have every right to do. So you might as well do it right the first time. And so that's the proper way to do this. Cancel the old listing, send me the cancellation electronically to sign. And if it's the MLS, you can cancel it yourself from there. If it's CRMLS, I'll cancel it. When you're sending me the cancellation, make sure that you write on the notes that we're canceling and relisting, so I know why we're canceling. And then get a new listing agreement. The other thing I've been asked to talk about is buyers paying your commission. Now, I've been talking about this for a while now because of these lawsuits that many MLSs, that buyers have class action lawsuits. There's a couple of class action lawsuits that buyers are suing NAR and MLSs and companies. Keller Williams, one of them, and also sellers are class action lawsuits that sellers are suing the same people, because everybody's saying I'm paying too much because of the structure that we have in doing business. Sellers are saying I'm paying commission for an agent that I don't know, and I didn't hire, and I've never worked with. Buyers are saying that I'm paying more for the property because the sellers are paying the commission for my agent. So we're going to see, I have no crystal ball. I don't know when this is going to happen, but we are going to see a change in the way we do business, in that you are going to need your buyers to pay your commission. So you should start getting in the habit of doing it now, using a buyer broker agreement when you're working with buyers, and saying, I need you to pay my commission. I'm worth this amount. And there is a clause in there that if my commission comes from another source, i.e. the seller, that amount is deducted from the amount that that you have agreed to pay me. So if the seller's paying, if you negotiate with your buyer to pay you 3% and the seller's paying 2.5%, then that 2.5 is subtracted from the 3% that that your buyer has agreed. So or if it's the same amount, the buyer doesn't owe you anything. But that's going to be the model that we're going to see moving forward. It's inevitable. The writing is on the wall, because a lot of people are seeing that listing agents aren't offering 2.5% anymore. They're, on a lease. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and it's like, well, they're only offering $300. Why should I even do the lease? Why should I even show it? Well, you know what? You have to, number one, you have to put your client ahead of your own interests. That's part of the code of ethics. So if you're steering clients away from properties just because you're not going to be compensated the way you want to be compensated, that's not servicing your client. So that's another important reason for when you're working with leases. Say, get a buyer broker agreement. It works for tenants too, with your tenants, that, okay, you're gonna pay me this amount, and it's based on 12 months, and explain the structure, how it's paid. And if this, the listing agent is only offering $300, then that buyer needs to come up with the additional money. So I'm sure that somebody has a question.
Questions? Comments?
Yeah, I've got one.
Sure,
Marsha.
go.
It's Marcia. Hey, Rich, how are you?
Hey, fine.
Good, good. So actually getting to leases, because the buyer agreement is so specific to being a buyer. I've never even tried to use it with a client when I'm trying to find them a place to lease. And they are probably, of all the clients, probably the flakiest, because a lot of the times stuff isn't on the MLS. So they wind up going, we spend all this time trying to find them something, we show them houses, and then they find something on Trulia that's not listed. And so we lose out on the deal altogether. Does the buyer broker help us in any way with that? I mean, what would you recommend? Because I do find that this is an issue.
Well, if you're using the buyer broker agreement and you're using it on an exclusive basis, it does help you, because no matter where they rent it, they owe you. So, and that's that. Also, you need to remember that, when before SRAR moved, when they had ChrisNet, and before they moved to CRMLS, their MLS, it wasn't required to put lease listings in the MLS. It is now required to put lease listings in the MLS. If you have a lease listing, that has to go into the MLS within 2 business days. So I think that's going to help our agents, because there's going to be, we used to have to say, I just had this conversation yesterday with a whole bunch of people. We used to have to say, when we were dealing with tenants, I can only show you what's in the MLS. I don't, there's other sources, there's not next door, Craigslist, there's all these other sources. Well, now if there is a listing in place, it needs to be in the MLS. So,
but there's also so what about like Trulia, where the owners themselves are renting?
that is still there. That is still
Right.
there. Owner, right. But if you're using buyer broker agreement on an exclusive basis, if they go off rent it directly from an owner, they still owe you the commission.
No, that's interesting. Okay, I didn't realize that. Thank you for that
Mhm.
information.
Anybody else? Okay.
Rich had, Ray, come here.
Hey, Rich.
Yes.
Just so I make sure I heard you clearly, you're saying to even get this up front before you start offering on properties, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and then just curious from your end, just for knowledge purposes, how would you briefly pitch that to the buyer when you're starting the relationship?
It's I'm paid on a commission basis. And, I want to work for you. I want to work, I'm devoting my time to you, and I want to work exclusively for you and find you what you're looking for. So here's this agreement between us, what you can expect from me, what I bring to the table, and for my compensation, you're agreeing to pay X amount of dollars. But if the seller has agreed to compensate me, then whatever the seller is compensating me is deducted from that amount. And a lot of times it's a wash, and you don't owe, the money doesn't come from you, it comes from the seller.
And this is all part of the buyer rep agreement before you start showing?
Correct, it is, yes.
Okay, and
there's other forms, every time you show a property, there's a form that says, to list, I showed you this, what day I showed you, it was from the MLS, it was an off market, but everything. And so you have this record of everything that you showed them. And if the agreement, the agreement doesn't have to be exclusive. It can only be what I show you. So on this form, it's like, okay, these are the ones I showed you. So if you ever go back and purchase those within X amount of time, there is that, that clause, within 90 days or whatever you put in that space. If you go back and you purchase this, you still owe me the money. So,
yeah, I think it's obviously going to put a lot of pressure on being able to handle the first question that comes right back to that, which is like, well, wait a minute. Like working through you might cost me more money than if I just go direct. And so obviously that's going to be something to really be prepared to have a
but it really isn't costing. You've got to, because also on that form of what you've showed them, it shows what the compensation that was offered was. So, they're offering 2.5%. And if you make the agreement with the buyer, 2.5%, it's like, oh, look, here's an example. I would be paid by the seller, and whatnot. So it's not, unless you're coming across these properties that sellers aren't offering, compensation. So, but you have to prove your worth. And like I said, this is coming. This really is coming. The role of the MLS is changing. I can tell you that right now. It's no the definition of the MLS is offer of, in the definition it says offer of compensation. I don't think that's going to be there at some point. It's no longer going to be an offer of compensation to agents.
Crazy.
Europe is already like that. In most places.
Right, and New York does it. Their leases, you pay your broker. If they're working with a tenant, you pay that broker. There's no being compensated by the listing agent.
You go there.
I have a question. What if you agree to work for 2.5% and the buyer or the seller is offering 3 or 4%.
You get 3 or 4%.
That's in the agreement.
Yeah, because all that the buyer is agreeing to pay you is 2.5%. Now, you can, there is a form, actually on the form, if I remember correctly, there is a situation, you know, you can account for that situation of if I'm being paid more, you know, I get it, I can split it with you, or you get it as a credit.
Is that part of the standard form?
Yeah.
It is part of the form, yes.
So is
Okay.
everyone well, any more questions for Rich?
I think there was one in the chat, like when was.
Hey, Rich, there is a question on the chat. I just thought I'd mention it. Asking since when is it required to lease listings on the MLS?
Since SRAR moved to CRMLS. CRMLS requires lease listings to be put on the MLS.
And do you know if the MLS is the same?
I don't.
You know what? I'm a member, so I'll find out.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think that they are requiring it, but CRMLS definitely does.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Rich.
Sure, thank you.
So with that said, really, if for those of you that aren't utilizing the buyer broker agreement on a regular basis, this is time to start. Right? Might as well break yourself in on doing, some people have been doing it for a long period of time. It's been something that's been out there. But if you are uncomfortable with it, then get comfortable with it. Right? So really take this opportunity to become accustomed, to get your feet wet with it and handle the objections before it's a permanent thing. Fair enough? Doug, do you do the buyer broker agreement? Do you ever use that?
Yeah.
But people won't say no to that, so he has that going for him. All right, awesome. Okay, let's move on. Oh, and Rich, you want to promote your class tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow I will, my last class was on mandatory disclosures. This goes hand in hand with that class. It's, I thought I had done it and recorded it, but when I looked at my recordings, I couldn't find one. So, I'll remember to record this. It's the Agent Visual Inspection Disclosure, the AVID, which is one of the most important forms that you are ever going to fill out. And it's not what you think it is. So join me tomorrow at 4.
All right, awesome. We appreciate you, Rich. Thank you. All right, moving on. The Homeowners Expo, Miss Louisa, come on up. And then you guys are next.
I can do your video.
Oh, it's fine.
I'm good.
Okay, yes, so, productivity coaching program, we had our homeowners expo 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and we had it titled as Bubbly Brunch and Beyond. And basically we invited a lot of homeowners in the area and beyond. And we had a trust lawyer come in, we had Zoom Kaza speak, we also had Jerry, which titles, and also a CPA that spoke in regards to 1031 exchanges, family trust, and it was a really good turnout. It wasn't as good as the buyers. We had 34 people came in for the home buyers expo, but we still had a really good turnout. We had about 15 families in here. And the plus side is that we turned that room into a childcare where all the kids was in there, and we put on Disney movie and everyone was so good. So all the families, mom and dad that said, oh, I can't make it, we don't have babysitter, great, we have actually childcare for you where they can watch movies where you learn stuff about how to keep your equity intact. And so with 13 people coming in, 13 families, we actually got 3 referrals for our family trust lawyer. 2 for our CPA that they're gonna sit down because they want to go ahead now. They're thinking about purchasing for 1031 exchange. And then Nicole got a referral for now that one of our sellers that was on the verge of like thinking about selling, but they didn't have money to do an upgrade. So now they're sitting down with Zoomkaza. So we didn't do it. We did the homeowners expo. We said bubbly brunch and beyond because we want the homeowners to know that Keller Williams Calabasas was here beyond the selling point, beyond the buying point. After they close the escrow, then what's next? We want them to know that, hey, we're still here for you after the fact, that we can still help you to do other stuff in order to help you keep that equity intact, keep the most important investment in your life intact, also your family, right? With the whole family trust. And it was amazing because like especially me, I was surprised, I was in awe that there was a lot of families that didn't know enough about family trust. Like our Q&A lasted 1 hour. Like we literally had to stop because everyone had such amazing questions, from title, because the whole fraudulent with properties, to the whole 1031 exchange, to family trust, and it was amazing. And I wish I had Anne was there. And then plus the only reason too that we only had less invites this time, because for home buyers in expo we had about 12 agents that helped out, but then this time we only had like five of us that worked our butts off for like a month and a half. But still 13 families, I think that's pretty amazing. And then now we're helping like about 7 of them to move forward. So yeah, I think it was very successful.
That's awesome.
Congratulations, Louisa, and everyone that attended. So there's just ways, like Linda had mentioned at our last team meeting when we did the recap for Mega Camp, when she did the recap. A lot of people are events driven right now, right? So whatever things that you can get a group of people in and educate them, because just because they're homeowners, they forget. They forget what they went through, or it may have been a long time ago, or a lot of times that people start getting scared of, can I do it? Can I not do it? What's the case? So on and so forth. So really,
And there were just so many questions that we couldn't as agents answer. So we had to bring in a partner that's licensed and actually know what they're talking about. Because the 5 of us, we learned a lot in regards to 1031 exchange, even family trust alone. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. So now I'm using all of that information. Well, we're all using all of that information from what we've learned from all these partners. And it's amazing because now all these families, right, that came, they're like, when are you guys doing the next one? When are you guys, when's the next event? And then plus some of these people that came, they also came from our home buyers expo. So they were like, because they also wanted to purchase back then, and they wanted to learn about the home buyers, transaction. And they also came back for the homeowners. So it was like amazing. So we're like, okay, well, and then we also had some cancellation because they couldn't make it. And they were also asking us, let us know. So we probably have 5 people on the wait list. Like, when are you guys going to do the next one? And I'm like, let me just figure out this one first, then we'll go to the next one. But yeah, so like home buyers expo is already on the books. Homeowners expo is also on the books. So we just need to figure out the time and date and stuff.
awesome. You did a great job. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Huge congratulations are in order for Michael Pochette and Steve Stacks. If you guys, I'm gonna let them do the honors and share with you what they did and what their historical and monumental closing means in the commercial realm. So come on down, congratulations, boys. The gentlemen. Guys.
Close the deal. Goes the big commercial deal. I have an asshole client that I've known for decades. And it's like pulling teeth through a chicken's ass working with it. And it's been a fucking nightmare every step of the way. And Michael and I held the deal together 1,000 times when it could have fallen apart. We started February 11th of 2019.
Wow.
That was our first meeting downtown LA where we have the clients from both sides, the commercial, the institutional developer, and my clients who are greedy SOBs. And we put them all together and we put together a deal. Initially, we were gonna sell the dirt. It was a shopping mall. And they were gonna redevelop it and make an apartment complex there. And you were gonna sell it for $50 million to sell the dirt, which is $20 million more than it was worth. Because my client said, if you wanna buy it, that's what we're selling it. Make a long story short, at that meeting, they said, would you guys entertain a ground lease? And my client went like this. Oh, fuck. So we put together a ground lease, a 99-year ground lease. Where,
Can you elaborate on that?
oh yeah. So the ground lease is where the owners of the land keep the land and they own it. And they're just collecting rent for the next 99 years. And then at the end of 99 years, any improvements that the tenant puts on a property become theirs. And the tenant walks away. So the institutional developer was gonna develop the land, put a $250 million into the property. And the rent that they collect from that would be theirs. And the landowners would get the amount of money for as rent for the next 99 years. Well, the deal was structured that they would get $3 million a year in rent with 3% to 5% range CPI index increases. So every year that $3 million goes up to 330,000. And then after that, it go up 3% every year but based on the CPI index with in the climate, it could go up to 5%. And then it recasts. If for some reason, my clients, or our clients, the sellers said, well, what happens if the economy goes crazy? And there's big inflation and it could be worth more than 3 to 5%. Well, it doesn't. We added in what they call a recast. So after 20 years, every 20 years, they'll look at where the economy's at and they'll recast it. So if it was only going up 3%, it would, or only going up, if it was going up 5%, but it was significantly higher because of inflation, they could recast it after 20 years and they could inflate it to whatever the current market value was. So it was a very painful, long structured thing, but we put it together. And after there was 1,000 times we had to go through city planning, we had to go through local meetings with homeowners in the community, where everyone was like, well, it's going to cause problems, it's going to be traffic, and it's going to be this and this. Every obstacle we had to deal with along the way, we were able to overcome, and it was more of a relief than excitement on Friday when it closed.
Oh my God.
So
Cut to the chase, we wanna know how much you got paid.
A lot of zeros.
Oh, yeah.
You come in zeros, like 6 or 7 or 8, double digit?
No, a little below 7.
Oh, a little bit, so 6.5.
So it was.
Oh my God, 99
Well,
years, 3 million a year.
No, it's
You do the math, $1 billion
No.
ground lease.
at 3%, the minimum, it was $1.64 billion at the end of 99 years, but it could be significantly higher if there's annual increases of up to 5%.
The largest ground lease in KW Commercial's history.
Like that.
One time.
We get one time. And it's done now, and should they, should the developer decide to build it? And there's a lot of, hedge funds that would end up purchasing something because it's residual income guaranteed, so a lot of, like, this company that does, they're the main investor for CalPERS, so anything in the state of California, all the teachers unions, it's funded by our client, and in New York. So it's a very big fund, and they could potentially sell it and make a profit on it, and it's already packaged in that if they decide to sell it someday, whether the landowners decide that they want to sell it at a future date, we get the sale. And if Fairfield wants to sell it at some point, then we get the sale of that as well. So
You guys have to partner with to do this kind of a deal.
yeah, the devil. There's no, we can partner with anybody.
No terms.
No, they have, everyone has their own,
Everybody's got a turn.
they've got their own arsenal of attorneys.
Each side has their own crews of people. So there are probably, I'd say, 20 or 30 cooks in the kitchen at all times. It was massive. And
I'm saying,
no, go for it.
no, it's 5 years in the making, and I want to know, outside of, what a pain in the ass the clients were, what were the indicators that really continued you guys moving forward, this understanding that there was a deal to be had here?
Because our clients were committed.
Our buyers were very optimistic out the gate the entire time. It's just the crown, it's really the crown jewel of Los Angeles. It's on the corner of Sepulveda and Centinela across from the Howard Hughes Center. Everybody in this building drives down the 405 on the way to LAX.
Yep.
You have to see it. So you don't come across jewel locations like that. And because of that, they were committed to the process.
Right.
And
But not, I think my point is, not everybody will take you
Nope.
that long to make it happen.
No, 'cause I mean-
That's bring to light that, it's not always immediate work, but in this case, 5 years. of direction.
But the more, but also the developers, the more time goes by, the more capital they've infused into this deal, whether it's paying attorney's costs or paying city application fees or doing entitlement fees. I mean, they had surveys from the city of LA where underneath the entire property, there is an irrigation channel that was put in there in the 20s that no one knew about. So there was a huge 10-foot channel going underneath the property that was 10 or 15 feet down that no one knew about. That was on, it wasn't even on microfiche, and then someone discovered it when they did a soils test and now that whole thing has to be rerouted. So there was a lot of obstacles where they could have said, oh, screw it and walk away. But they were into it for close to $1 million in development costs. So it's like, it's hard to walk away from $1 million. So they say, let's push through and get it done. So, Ray.
First off, congrats, it's awesome, but, question, so you don't see that many ground lease apartment new developments go down nowadays. Why did this one go down and you don't see so many go down in general, and could this possibly like set a new trend? With these types of deals that go down?
It was, so there's a few answers. One is you don't see it because it's very complex to structure. It took us about a year just to negotiate the ground lease. 1 year in contract negotiations, every 2 weeks a turn. So me and Steve were on the edge of our seats back and forth. So structuring it is one complex situation.
They look at every deal point from the start date to the very end. Even after 99 years, they've negotiated what happens if there's structural obsolescence, and who's gonna pay to have the property torn down and restored to the level. So that, I mean, even those deal points, 100 years from now, were structured into the deal, and those were deal points that had to get included and negotiated back and forth every step of the way.
So each side's legal team was head review.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And also you need a buyer group that knows what the fuck they're doing. Cause it's very complex to get things approved in the city of LA.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a huge development guy, and I'm telling you from this experience, getting a asset developed in the city of Los Angeles, like pulling teeth out of a rhinoceros, dude. It's a nightmare. They allow anybody to walk up to the podium and be like, I stand against this project, and now you have 8 months delayed.
Remember the guy that sang?
Oh my God.
There-
Oh my God.
If you've never been to a city council meeting, I encourage you to go. The craziest psychopath people on the planet show up there. This guy, there was one guy that came in there with a guitar and started singing. So the head council member who was sitting there goes, "You're a criminal and need to go to jail. You should die, blah, blah, blah." And they have to give them 90 seconds or 2 minutes to talk. So this guy's, and there's tons of crazy people at these city council meetings. And they just sit there and go,
Remember the smoke shop thing?
"Oh yeah."
Oh my God, it was so bad. There was some group that protested for a smoke shop to stay open. To stay open because they sell crack pipes in that neighborhood. And we're in there working on a 362 unit, $150 million development, talking about a smoke shop selling crack pipes. Oh my
Because
God.
when your case is in line with 20 others that go before the city council, you're thinking about, okay, what's gonna happen before ours comes up that's gonna piss them off and put them in a bad mood by the time they get to ours to say, "Fuck you guys."
And this is 3.5 years of. We had to have went through at least 20 council meetings, at least, you know, CEQA, this, that. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Those the days you came in suits.
No, we were all Zoom.
Everything was Zoom.
We went through COVID. You gotta imagine, we went through the COVID, you know, time period with this, and it's been a damn roller coaster, but to finally see the finish line here is just, you know, I don't know, any of you guys ever heard of Dinah's Diner?
Dinah's Chicken. That's the
That's the
site.
shopping center.
And that's also, that was another issue. We
Oh,
had
yeah.
historical site
yeah.
issues. So Dinah's Chicken has been there since the 40s. So they said, well, you can't tear down Dinah's Chicken. I go, why not? They'll make a beautiful, brand new one, because we've got 10,000 square feet of retail space on the ground floor. They'll put a beautiful one there. They go, no, you can't tear that down. So the architects had to go back to the drawing board and see, how can we lay out this 2.5 acre property where Dinah's Chicken can still be on one side of the parking lot, then there's the parking lot, and then there's the other structure. So Dinah's is gonna be this 80 or 90-year-old building next to this brand new shiny apartment complex in the same parking lot. So you had to,
Then we had the tenants fight us, then we had the neighborhood council fight us, then we had the city of Mar Vista fight us, then we had the city of LA fight us, then we had also the sanitation that we had to deal with.
then we about the Tesla people.
Tesla people, oh my
Oh,
God.
those Tesla people.
Oh, no, there was some people in the community that came to these meetings and say, well, there's not enough chargers gonna be put in. I go, you don't fucking live here, what do you care?
It's so stupid.
So they were criticizing the amount of, they had like 22 car chargers that were structured or in the plans for the parking lot. They said, well, that's not enough, you need at least 28. So they're picking at fly shit, complaining about the development of this every step of the way, and it was just painful.
And then there was the nonprofit group that threw us off track 8 months. There was a group, a nonprofit union that showed up out of the blue and was like, yeah, we don't like the design and we're gonna contest this. It cost us 8 months of time just to get back in front of the board, be like, we've already argued this. And that was 8 months from a non-profit union. And then, the end.
Formaldehyde?
Oh, the ADA.
Oh, yeah.
That was the end.
Yeah.
Somebody showed up with a
On Monday.
drone. On my closing day, showed up with the drone and was like, yep, the building is not
ADA compliant. The existing building, not the new building to be built.
the one we're
The
gonna tear
current
down.
The current shopping mall wasn't ADA compliant. They tried to slap a lawsuit on it just to try and say, here's $10,000, go away.
Yep.
They were just complaining about that. And then one of the unions, like all the unions want to be the ones to build the property. And they have it all lined up that they don't have to use any construction unions to build it. So the unions can file a complaint under a fake name or an LLC. And they said, well, it's not compliant because they're using, the plans call for plywood with formaldehyde in it. And they said, all plywood, all particle board is with formaldehyde. What do you want them to use? Natural wood? So they were complaining about that to try and slow things down. Have you ever seen the sides of buildings being built, development sites, and they use the particle board in the sidewall? That's all built with formaldehyde. They were worried about, they're saying that there's safety issues and health issues that you can't build with formaldehyde because it's a health risk. Every structure, every residential structure, every commercial structure is done with that from the particle board.
This is 4.5 years, guys. This is a motherfucking career highlight, not for the money. This is say we survived.
You guys were underpaid.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. We're $1.95 an hour.
You stuck with it, you went through all of it, you helped your client through it, and you got it to fruition.
Yes.
You know, that's, you guys should be,
But
you know, excited and congratulated, and Mike, I'm gonna be talking to you about my Walnut Acres property.
It was like a giant exhale on Friday when
Yeah,
they said it's closing.
yeah. It-
Now we've got another piece of dirt a couple blocks away with the same sellers. I'm big.
Oh, boy.
362 units, 10,000 square feet, 6501 South Sepulveda, Centinela and Sepulveda. In the next few years, when you see all the construction between trains, think of us and the pain we have to go through there. So,
Yeah, this is an interesting family to deal with, and I told Michael that I don't want to work with him again. And they have another, this family, it's like they've never worked a day in their life. During the war, during World War II, there was 2 soldiers that were coming off the beach in Normandy. And one of them was married with a wife and kids, and the other one was a single guy. And the single guy came from a very affluent family with tons of commercial property that they owned back in the 50s, or in the 40s, 30s and 40s. Well, his best friend was shot on the beaches of Normandy, and he died in his best friend's arms. And he said, don't worry, I'll take care of your family. So he went back to the United States and told the wife, I'll take care of you and your family. And they never had kids together. So when he passed away, all of his family's wealth went to this other side of the family, and they've never worked a day in their life. Because they've all been getting about $200,000 a month in rental income. Each, all the kids, the grandkids and everything. And they just,
yeah, I could live with that.
they told me at one point, I sat down with them because they hate each other. These families hate each other, and they told me at one point, like 7 years ago, see, just sell everything. I go, I can't work with him. I go, listen, you can hate him all you want. Let's just get a property man. I'm not going to talk myself out of business. Why don't you guys just hire a property manager and pay them 5%, which is what a property manager gets, and you never have to talk to them ever again. And I mean, there was like 12 or 15 commercial properties that are worth billions of dollars. And his response to me was, the head of the family goes, you want us to throw away 5% every month?
Oh,
Because they were managing their own properties, and that's why they were fighting and arguing with each other. So I said, all right, I will sell it. And then it manifested that Michael and I put the deal together.
I want to give you guys a takeaway here. This deal would not have happened if we didn't have like a creative hat to put on. And I know right now is a little challenging in the market. So I want to give you a seed just to plant in your mind. Think creatively. And it may take longer, but there's a higher probability of actually getting a deal done versus meeting the same opposition that they might provide other brokers. And this goes not only for commercial, residential, rentals, whatever. Just take some time to think about a problem outside of the box.
You can Tetris a deal together.
Big time. And just, you know, if you're running into the same opposition, go back to it 4 different ways and propose it to the client. See what happens, see what actually grows from there.
And something simple would be, say you have a client that's owned a property for a long time and they have some equity in it. Why don't you carry a little bit for the buyers? This way you'll get some interest income, and then it'll be easier to put a deal together. Say you have a client that has a home that's worth $1 million that was their parents' house or whatever, and it wasn't, they owe nothing on it. Say, okay, fine, we'll carry $500,000 at 50% LTV, and we'll let you buy the house at 5% versus 7.5 right now.
Seller carry back.
Right, exactly. So let's sell or carry. And there's different creative ways you can just think. My clients have bad credit, or they don't have the greatest credit, or whatever the obstacle might be. There's always a way to figure something out.
Even on leases too, if you're doing leases, carve into those lease contracts that if this should come into a purchase, you're entitled to your commission.
Right.
You're putting them together, so if a lease should become a purchase, you're taken care of. You get to facilitate the transaction. So.
Yeah, so if like, even on a long-term lease, if they say you put together, they're only willing to do a lease for 1 year. But if they end up renting a property for another 24 months after that, you just put it in there, say, should the tenants ever purchase the property in the next 60 or 72 months, I'm entitled to my commission on whatever the negotiated purchase price is at a later date.
I did that with Jade Mills one time on her penthouse in California. Yeah, like 10 years ago.
He wasn't thrilled about it, but.
Oh yeah, she was great. Yeah, she's cool people. So,
So.
all right, cool.
All right, awesome.
Good.
All righty. I love it. All righty, moving on. Okay, oh, we have birthdays. Ray, Eileen this week. Woohoo! And we got Jonathan, Karen, Ashley, a ton of people. So sorry, I'm not gonna say them all, but happy birthday to each and every one of them. What are you, mostly Virgo babies? That was anybody listening to me? All right, thanks. All right, then we have anniversaries. So thank you so much for your continued commitment to Keller Williams. So really appreciate each and every one of you. Let me see, what's the longest? Oh, Gabe's been here 12 years. Doug Schmidt, 15, right? Joanne, 12, dang. And Eileen, 12. Wow. Katrine, 10. Very awesome. So happy anniversary. All right, and look at all our closings in August. Woo! Yeah, so just doing well. I know the August opens August is always a weird little month, but closings, as you guys have been working your tails off for sure. So again, congratulations to each and every one of you. And I've noticed too, as soon as Labor Day was over, Tuesday was like, you guys are all after it at such a high level. I could tell that the summer is kind of over, right? Because all the requests and it's just has it been crazy since September? What day was Labor Day? 5th? 6th? 3rd? I don't know. The next day it was crazy. Okay, welcome to Calabasas. We had a few people come back, which is super awesome and ready to rock and roll. And then our brand new licensee, Reza. So congratulations and welcome. And then we have November 14th to 20th, Bahamas. So we can still squeeze people in if they want to. So we're making, the rest of us who are committed, we're making our final payments today. And then we can always add anybody that would like to go. And then we have our holiday party in December. Okay, Christine Wheeler and Cindy Tanzen. I don't know, Christine, I think you're still on. Did either one of you want to pitch it? Or...
Okay, so I feel like it's the 21st, not the 19th. But I could be wrong. It's next Thursday, I think.
Next Tuesday.
check the calendar, because it's one of those days. But it's gonna be a really good session, whether you've read the book or not. I think you will definitely learn some things from each other and how to make money, how to save money. Always a good topic, so be there.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Cindy. All right, and then Calabasas escrow. Thank you all for those of you that are using them. Really, they're doing a great job. Brian's always here every day. So if you ever need net sheets or anything like that, just shoot him a text. I think texting is sometimes the best way, or just pop in and say, hey, can I get a net sheet? All right, Cindy, do you have anything you want to share real quick?
Okay, so not a lot in the news lately about rates, but what is in the news is about debt. And apparently consumer debt is now at a milestone of $1 trillion, which is pretty big go. And student loan debt almost twice that. So it's not necessarily a good time for consumers out there. Rates on credit cards are probably between 18 and 26%. On student loans, it's a lot better. It's between, I'd say, high fives to low sixes or something like that. So that is becoming an issue. And the kinds of business that I'm doing these days is second mortgages, reverse second mortgages. And also I want you to keep an eye out there for any of your buyers who have support network. I've seen the ones that I've seen that actually come to fruition, they get their deals, their offers accepted, they go into escrow, they can purchase a home. They're typically the first time home buyer that has mom and dad somewhere in the picture that's either giving them a bunch of money to help and or they're co-signing for them. So if you've got a family who's got support, so you got a strong showing. I am getting a lot of leads for first-time home buyers for the down payment assistance programs. Not having a lot of traction with those, but I don't want to discourage any of that because don't worry about giving me quality leads. Like, I had to go back to some people and say that wasn't a viable lead. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. Well, no, don't be sorry. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to beat the bridges, get the leads, send them to me. Let me try to get them, put them together with something that's going to work. And if I can't, they're going to get a game plan. You're going to find out what the timeline is. And, we all move on and get to the next deal. That's all I have for you. Any questions?
Yeah. Thank you, Cindy. Hey, Ben and Jamie, did you guys have a couple things that you wanted to say, like 30 seconds, or just come say hi?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess, yeah, sure. First of all, congratulations, that was a fantastic story. I mean, that's just why what we do and why we do it. Then you should be writing books, young man. You should be writing. No, but just glad to be here. This is Jamie Angel and Benacasa, your Fidelity National Title Team. Couple things, great information, but when I'm hearing about, the buyer broker agreement, I often think of, well, if you ever go to, an attorney, or last time you went to have a procedure done by a doctor, they're all pros, top of their field, just like you. True. If you're gonna, hire an attorney, don't you sign a contract, right? I don't think our industry is any different. You all are the pros out there. A lot of great information. Last meeting, Rich brought up the importance of a trust. Love that you had that home buyers workshop and talking about trust, because it's not just our jobs to help our clients grow their wealth through acquiring real estate, but it's also our jobs to help them protect that wealth. So by doc connecting and throwing events, by bringing CPAs and trust attorneys, it's not only a great way for you to get in with those professionals to reciprocate and refer and recommend, but it's a great way for you to add value to your farm and sphere. Talking about trust, obviously, trusts are a big deal because it's its own entity with its own tax ID number, and only the trustees of the trust or successor trustees of that trust can negotiate on behalf of that trust. But what Jamie and I, and what we're seeing a lot is homeowners trying to present powers of attorneys when you have a trust. 99.9% of trusts that we see do not allow for a power of attorney to negotiate real property. Power of attorneys can be used to do certain banking things, pay bills, but when it comes to actually selling that property, a trust speaks to every life event. And, you know, whether there's cognitive decline, I've seen trusts where they have clauses in there where a trustee's incarcerated, right? So they literally speak to every life event. So if you're working with a family or you're working with a client that has a trust, you do your due diligence, order your prelims when?
Right when you take a listen.
Not when you go into escrow. So you have time to work, as these two young men mentioned, they spent how many years, 4.5 years working on deals? We've seen agents that spend thousands of dollars in marketing, only to pull a prelim and find out that, oh my God, there's a $287,000 federal tax lien my client didn't bother to tell me about. Or, oh my gosh, it's in a trust, and one trustee, true story, wanted to sell, the other brother didn't. And this poor agent had done all this marketing and procured a buyer, and now one doesn't want to sign, and it's a dead deal. So order your prelims when you take your listings as opposed to going in an escrow. And if they're in a trust, always when you're right there, I would slip them a statement of information, right? Get that up front because you're a pro. Second, I would ask them for a copy of that trust, right? So we can see who the players are within that trust. And if they talk about a power of attorney, give us a call. We'll put our eyes on it for you. But 9 out of 10 times the power of attorney is not going to work. But you don't need to use it, right? So there's that. Let's talk about marketing real quick. Can't believe we're already at the end of the third quarter. That's crazy. We're already talking holiday parties. What? It's awesome, right? But this means we got to have the pedal to the metal because conversations happen. When we were talking about Labor Day, so I was up in Lake Arrowhead at Labor Day, and a dock neighbor came over and was asking, you know, how's the real estate space? And the response is always, it's challenging, but that's why you need a pro like me, right? So he's talking about, well, my wife and I, we're considering about selling, but we need to, you know, the numbers don't jive and we're scared about interest rates. Fidelity Agent One app. Please get it on your phone. Please get it. Fidelity Agent One. One is spelled out. And get the premium version. Because all the content that the team behind Fidelity Agent One is pushing through is all designed for you, the agent, to control the narrative. Jason Abrams says it best. The real estate space is the only industry that's cool with other people telling our story. And that's just that. And that's a quote directly from Jason Abrams. It's our job to educate, advocate for our clients, and to control the narrative. Interest rates are still great. When my parents bought the house, it was like 13% with 2 points, and they were bragging about it, right? If you can afford to live in the payment, buy it. Date the rate, marry the house. If you want to sell it, price it right, and it's selling. They're not building any more land in LA last time I checked, right? So Fidelity Agent One app will help you control the narrative, and it's fully branded. So I literally sat there with this app and worked what's called sell to net. Ask them, what is your goal? After your loan's paid off, title, escrow, blah, 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 what's that number you want to see in your checking account from escrow to make you and your wife feel like you won? And you sit back and zip it. And he gave me the number. And I worked it right on the app. Called Sell the Net. It works backwards. It told me what I would need if I was an agent to sell that property to give my clients the win that they told me what that win looked like. And then I went into our Title Force app, pulled the comps on this property. I said, this is more than doable because real estate, it's a lifestyle. It's not a 9 to 5. That's why we love what we do, right? So have the technology. We have a saying, technology will never replace you, the awesome agent. But agents using technology will replace those that don't. So use it. By the way, we programmed your escrow fees into our net sheet. So when you're out there running net sheets, you can choose your escrow and it's going to pop that through right there, saving you time, saving you a phone call, and being able to close on the spot. So as always, thank you so much for the opportunity. Congratulations to each and every one of you. What a blessing to be alive. Thank you for the opportunity. Have a great day.
Thank you. Okay, so we.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was probably took a vote. I appreciate your help.
Okay, and then
Real
we,
quick.
yeah, come on.
Yeah, real quick. Okay, so getting creative, right? Like Steve was saying, we decided to do a tech talk after this meeting today. We'll do another one next week at night on Wednesdays like we normally do. But is AI moving fast or is it moving fast? Are you guys noticing the trends on that stuff? Your blonde tech support is here for you with command and everything else. But also today I want to show you guys some creative ways to use AI. There's so much cool stuff, from video apps to it fixing your eyes so that you can be reading a script like this, but it looks like you're looking at the screen, right? All kinds of things like that, to also how you can win a listing presentation by printing from ChatGPT before you even go, you know, descriptions, different types of descriptions for your properties and things like that. So I can't wait to show you guys that. If you want to stay around, we'll be right here at 11:30 doing this stuff. And yeah, as always, if you have questions, let me know. I'm here.
Yay, thank you. And so instead of wine and cheese, we're gonna have champagne and pizza. Whatever, right?
A little class, a little hood.
Yeah. Yeah, we just mix it up. We keep you all guessing. So, and the pizza is sponsored by Michelle Wallace with our All Service Moving Company. So she'll be showing up here around noon, I think. So, just to say hi to everybody, but she'll be providing the pizza, and then Louisa is providing the champagne.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we haven't paid you for it yet, so.
We're
fighting on Louisa.
You know, like Steve should sponsor us.
I know, right?
That's a lot of zeros. I think happy hour should be on Steve and what's the next happy hour?
Exactly. So again, here's the information for the Bahamas. If anybody wants to go, just let me know. And then remember, we have started the listing contest every Friday at 4 o'clock. We're going to send out an update of who is winning. So as of last Friday, Jeanette Gonzalez is the winner for the grand prize, right? Because she has taken the most listings. So team A is, those are the people that are contributing to the score. And then team B, so it's 12-7 currently. What I will send out another updated, because I don't know if you all saw it, you know, with the teams on it, etc. So you know which team you are on. But also for those of you that are taking listings, you may, like, I know Justin Bonnie just took one, and so he just sent me the listing. Hey, I want to make sure this counts, right? Because sometimes we may not get it right away, right? We don't know what you get until sometimes when we see it, you know, obviously we see it in the MLS, but if it's excluded or anything like that, just send us a copy of your listing agreement, so then we know we can count it, make sure that your points get counted. So as a reminder, right, you get 3 points for taking a listing, you get 1 point for using Calabasas escrow, and then you get 1 point if you open and close a buyer deal within that time period. Fair enough? Okay, I'll get you guys all out of here. Let's see, where are we? Okay. The schedule this week, again, please make sure you stay and get the tech talk with Sonia. Rich's class tomorrow at 4 o'clock. For all, I'm doing an extensive RPA and all necessary docs training, right, for your transaction on Thursday. So I'm not only am I going to just go through the RPA, but I'm going to go through, you know, counter offers, this, that, and the other thing, and just, yeah. So we're going to be here till 10 o'clock. So. And then,
let me bring my sleeping bag.
Yeah, I know. Then Facebook Fridays at 9 o'clock with Sonia, and then come on, join me at the driving range.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's so fun. Thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. So I think we're
Stonehouse waiting for y'all.
yeah, I know. We just made Stonehouse after.
11 o'clock.
Keller Williams School of Real Estate. If you have anybody that wants to have the free education, make sure you send them to Bree.